This is the first Tuesday of the month Waupaca City Council meeting.
Again, welcome everybody to tonight's regular scheduled city council meeting. Obviously, we changed it from Tuesday to Wednesday to accommodate New Year's Day. I call this meeting to order, and we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we'll ask Sandy to read the clerk's open meeting statement for us.
This meeting and all other meetings of the Common Council are open to the public. Proper notice has been posted and given to the press in accordance with Wisconsin state statutes so that citizens may be aware of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting.
And also take roll for us, Sandy.
Brian Smith.
Here.
Steve Hackett.
Here.
Lori Chestnut.
Here.
Paul Hagan. Alan Keeland.
Here.
Scott Perchatsky.
Here.
Dave Peterson.
Here.
Paul Mayo.
Here.
Chuck Whitman.
Here.
Mary Fair.
Here.
And Eric Olson.
Here.
9 present. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Sandy. Consent agenda. These are items that we take one motion, all of these items with one motion, and we vote on that one motion unless council or staff would like to see any of those items moved from the consent agenda to the regular agenda. If not, we would need a motion to approve the consent agenda as printed. So moved.
Second.
Motion by Keeland, second by Chestnut, that we approve the consent agenda as printed. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Against? Motion carried. Okay, regular agenda. You do have the one handout that Terry Schultz just handed out, and we'll be hearing from her in a few seconds here. But otherwise, the regular agenda is as printed. Again, we would need a motion to approve.
So move.
Second. Motion by Hackett, second by Olson, that we approve the regular agenda as printed with that one addition. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Against? Motion carried. All right, let's go into non-agenda items and announcements. We have a presentation from the Waupaca Convention and Visitors Bureau with Terry Schultz, the Waupaca Area Chamber of Commerce, and Mitch Swenson, who is the Chamber Tourism Director. It's all yours.
A little bit of a correction. We're actually here representing the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and I am president of the Chamber and Convention and Visitor Bureau, and Mitch is the Vice President of Tourism for the Convention and Visitor Bureau also. So we just wanted to give you kind of an update of what we've been working on and what we've been doing and how it's affecting tourism in the area. And so we've put a little packet together. We'll just let you read that at another time, but we just wanted to make a couple highlights out of there. Tourism in Wisconsin and Waupaca County and the Waupaca area were up in 2017. There's always a study that's done by the Wisconsin Department of Tourism that looks at all kinds of numbers, and they definitely showed that those dollars coming into the state and into our area were up in 2017. And if you just take a quick look at the second page, we've actually tracked room tax in the Waupaca area that the city has collected over we track it for many years, but I did the last 3 years. And you'll see that in 2016, 17, and 18, we've seen small increases, but between 17 and 18, we're predicting that it'll be quite a bit of an increase for the city and our area. So we feel that the promotion that we've done and the help that we've done in promoting tourism to the area has really helped in benefiting that increase of dollars into the area. Mitch is just going to highlight a couple things about what he's done and worked on. And
Well, there's a number of avenues we use for promoting Waupaca tourism, advertising, print, Sometimes we've dealt with some TV and radio as well. Social media is becoming a very powerful tool, and using some paid money behind pushing those posts out has really helped. And we try to attend at least one major trade show in the state every year. Sometimes it's a couple, depending on how scheduling works, but we distribute a lot of our visitor guides and silent sports guides. A lot of people, the show we primarily focus on is the Canoecopia show in Madison. A lot of northern Illinois folks that come to that show, and they look at Waupaca as a nice drive for a stay for a weekend or a week, and not going all the way in northern Wisconsin to the Minocqua and Eagle River areas. But then with that, our visitor guide is actually a very powerful item we distribute throughout the state. We contract with a couple of agencies and get the Waupaca area Channel Lakes visitor guide in the rest stops and the visitor and welcome centers around the state. We do reciprocate with a lot of the other chamber and CVBs by having our guide there and then their guides at our office. And a lot of promoting around town when events, other events that we support and other events that are done in the community, we help promote those as well. Just a little bit on events. There's pages 4 and 5. There's a couple of graphs there. One is about Strawberry Fest. We do track. We try to do a poll or a survey, and we track zip codes and such. And we see with that event that, primarily it's the greater Waupaca area, 20 miles or less is our biggest attendees of that event. Whereas you look at page 5 with the Channel Lakes Blues Festival that we sponsor, that is more outside people coming and spending the night and staying here. And so that's kind of a interesting concept. It's not a huge event in terms of number of attendees, but 750 to 800 about, and the economic impact is pretty impressive at 133,000 there. But of the 3 events that we help promote and sponsor, Strawberry Fest, the 4th of July Parade and Fireworks, and the Blues Fest, we're bringing in over $1.5 million to the local Waupaca area economy. And so the other thing too, we promote day trips and overnight stays. There's numbers that we are given by the Department of Tourism. Day visitors spend an average of $70 per day, and overnight visitors spend an average of $180 a day. And we see that when we track the room tax dollars and such too. So.
I also wanted to touch on the grants that we've been giving out, a program that the city had started and had carried out for many years. We've continued to carry that out. We call them tourism development grants. In 2017, we awarded over $50,000 in grants to local organizations for their events and like the curling club to put into their facility, that type of thing. And this year it was over $43,000 in grants, and we base that on a percentage of the room tax dollars that we receive. So also wanted to let you know that the Convention and Visitor Bureau does have a separate budget. They have a separate board of directors that meets 5 times a year. They do oversee all of the financials for the Convention and Visitor Bureau. They make the final decisions on those tourism grants, and then they also oversee the tourism event committees. And the city does have 2 representatives on that board of directors. Currently, Mary Fair and Kathy sit on that board of directors. And I guess the other thing, I guess before I go any further, I would ask if there are any questions about any of the information. We wanted to make this short and sweet because we know how boring presentations can be. But this is material that you can take home. We do file quarterly reports with the city, so hopefully you see those. And if you ever have any questions, we're more than happy to answer those. But tonight, do you have any questions? If not, I guess what I would ask is that we currently have a contract with the city to perform the tourism development activities in the area, and we would ask that you allow us to continue that contract with the city and work with Henry and the mayor in continuing that contract. So that's it.
All right. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank
Mitch,
you.
Terry, thank you. All right, next we have public input. This is for non-agenda items. If there's anybody that would like to speak to us on a non-agenda item, please step up to the podium, give your name and address for the record, and limit your time to 3 minutes or less.
Hello, my name is Chad Bazaar. I live at N2855S Western Ave, Waupaca. I have a question on putting a traffic light at Riverside Drive and Churchill Street at the Learning Center / middle school, and or a traffic officer there permanently to help out with the traffic, because it is horrendous. I sent an email to Mr. Smith on 9/17. I did not get any response. I sent an email to Mr. Patrick Fair at the school board, and he sent it on to police chief and the city engineer on November 29th, and I have not received anything. I just wonder if there's been any other input, any other question, concern about that area. There have been police officers sitting in the parking lot of the Hut restaurant. Apparently they are monitoring traffic, checking speeders and things, but yet there's a bad intersection right in front of them that they do not do anything with. They just sit there. This morning, there was a traffic police officer sitting in the Shell station when I went in, and a police officer sitting in the Shell station when I went out, and the traffic was horrendous. The roads are terrible, so obviously he wasn't sitting there for speeders. So I just wondered if there's been any studies of putting a traffic light in there or putting a permanent traffic cop to help out with the traffic.
So you're asking not about the pedestrian crossings, but
No.
you're asking about people that are leaving Shoemaker, is that Shoemaker Road? Am I right?
It's Riverside Drive,
yeah.
I believe. Isn't
Or
it?
Riverside Drive? Okay.
Riverside is the one just.
Yeah, Riverside Drive, okay. Whatever,
Riverside,
Rhonda.
Mayor, the Riverside Drive would be the one that would be closer to the ponds that goes to the hospital.
Okay, so that's Riverside Drive, and Shoemaker is the road that goes into the middle school?
Into
the school.
Okay.
Correct.
And your concerns about the traffic are what?
Turning left out of Shoemaker onto Churchill, mostly.
And
But-
what would you suggest that we do?
Either a traffic light or have a traffic cop there. When there is one, it runs so much better, so much smoother that people can get in and out. There's no hemming and hawing. I actually pulled out in front of somebody the first couple weeks of school. The next day, I saw somebody do the exact same thing. So, with a police officer there, if the traffic light isn't economic, I mean, why can't we put a police officer there every day? There's a police officer at the Catholic Church every Sunday. Granted, he's a sheriff, but he's there every Sunday. Why can't we have that every day at the school?
Chief, are you?
Yeah. First part, the officers are there in the morning for radar enforcement because we get complaints all the time that people are speeding. So that's one of the reasons why they are there. We're unfortunately not guaranteed that the officer that's working at that time is the only officer that is working. So if there's other calls that do come in, they have to respond to other calls that come in. In the afternoons, they are there and they do assist with getting the traffic out as well as the buses. So I guess that's why, or that's what we've done, is to have that extra enforcement in the area. The officers have gotten out from time to time, especially at the beginning of the school year, because traffic backs up all the way to Royalton Street. So the officers have gotten out and addressed traffic. Unfortunately, you have an intersection that everybody wants to bring their children to school as well as the buses, and we just can't be there every day to get unfortunately, to get the traffic out in the mornings.
Okay, can I address the number one thing with the speeders is safety, right? Bottom line, safety. Well, isn't the intersection there of people turning left, you have trees in the way on the right-hand side, so it obstructs view. So isn't safety at that intersection also a question? I mean, the school lets out early on Wednesdays. In the past, I think at least 5 Wednesdays, maybe 4 out of the 5, there has not been a police officer there for the early release, and the traffic at one point was backed up all the way to the football field to get out onto Churchill Street. I mean, why not find somebody at the school to go out there and direct traffic? I mean, there's got to be some way.
May I speak to this, Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead.
I frequently pick up my grandchildren at middle school, and especially on Wednesday afternoons, an early release. And I found that when a police officer is there, the traffic moves very smoothly. I mean, it's definitely warranted. I understand you have personnel issues and getting assignments here consistently. And I think a controlled intersection with a stoplight would probably be a good way to go on this. And it wouldn't have to be operating as a stop-and-go light all the time, only during release hours. I think that would help with the problem also.
It's an interesting intersection there, no doubt, because Park Avenue does not line up. So I suppose we could have awful wide stop-and-go lights. One on the side of Park Avenue and one on the other side. That's something we can talk about. I mean, having an officer there, I mean, like Chief Ozella said, you know, it'd be difficult for this person to be out of their vehicle and get a call and have to take off while he's directing traffic.
Okay, but then what's the difference between the officer sitting there checking for speeders at the hut and one that actually gets out of the car and directs traffic? I mean, is there a designated person that, okay, we're not going to put you on call for a half hour, you go direct traffic, as opposed to the person sitting at the hut with his radar gun? I mean, what's the difference there?
I only have one officer that's available. We have 2 officers. Our second officer comes in at 8 a.m. And like I said, the reason why they are in that school zone is I have mandated that they need to try to be there every day to try to slow down traffic, because we get traffic all the time of people going through there.
Okay,
So
and I'm here to complain about turning left there. So how many people do we need to complain about turning left before we get some help?
Well, I don't know if when they redirected the learning center so that you could not go out on Harding Street, if that's increased traffic coming onto Churchill Street, and I think it has. I mean, we've had this discussion and issue, Chad, for years. I mean, even back when my children were in school, and I'm like Alan, I pick up my grandkids, but I'll tell you, I turn right. You know, I mean, I just turn right. It's the easiest thing to do is to turn right.
Okay, so
I know how to get out of
if everybody
Waupaca.
turns right, then that line is twice as long because then you don't have anybody turn left.
I'm
So, I mean, if this has been a problem that long, I mean, what, has nobody,
I'm
Come-
sorry, Chad. I'm thinking that I'm not going to be able to please you tonight. I heard your complaint, and we'll talk about it. I'll make sure that either the chief or our city administrator gets back to you and lets you know what we think we can do to help.
okay, well, I talked to police officer, I think Zuby, who's the liaison with the school, and he mentioned that there's some other option to get the traffic out of there, but the school board just said, no, we're not gonna do it that way because it's gonna confuse everybody.
Okay.
So, it seems like,
Thank you. I appreciate your coming here. It's obviously a concern to you, and we will talk about it, and we'll get back to you, Chad.
okay, thank you much.
All right, thanks. Okay, any other public input? Anybody that would like to give us a non-agenda item discussion? If not, we'll move on. Yes. Yeah, I'm sorry, Larry, I didn't
No,
see your
you're-
hand.
Yeah, you're fine. Again, I just want to thank our city crews who on New Year's Eve made the roads safer for all those that were able to get out and to go out and enjoy their night. So thank you guys and thank the crews because they didn't have New Year's Eve. Thank you. Much appreciated. I'm sure the people in the city did.
Absolutely, yeah, thanks, Laurie. We can never say that enough, you're right. Okay, any other public input? All right, let's move on then to new business. This is, has to do with the taxi cab fares, and of course, we had the public hearing right before this. Henry, I'm
Sure.
thinking you're grabbing this.
Thank you, Mayor.
I think they said 68. So.
68, thank you. Yeah, 68. There is a cover memo there and a copy of the fares. I did get a call from Carl, and I failed to change one fare in the list that you have there for proposed increase, and that's the delivery fare. If you'll go down 5 lines, delivery, currently $5.50. It should be to go up to $9.50 to mirror the agency fare. So that'd be the only change. But essentially, if we don't increase fares, and as my memo indicated, I'm working with the Vets Home, we want to increase their contractual agreement. We're looking at probably a $40,000 local share based on projections, and we've budgeted a $10,000 local share for the transit fund. So we need to do a fare increase. So these are the proposed increases. Feel with these changes to implement them in effective January 15th, I believe. Effective January 14th, that this will get us on a good trajectory in terms of our local share requirement for the taxi.
Is the as of 1/14/2018, should that be 2019?
Well, that's exactly right. But I
I'm just
have it
wondering.
correct-
I was a
have it
bit
correct
confused.
on my memo attached, but my cover memo is wrong? Right. No, my cover memo talks.
What page are you looking at, Paul? I'm sorry.
Page 69.
Okay. So,
Oh, under heading to the right there.
oh yeah, way on the right there, Henry.
It's just the typo.
Top heading.
Yeah.
That
Thank
makes
you,
sense.
Paul.
That makes
I'm
sense to me
sorry.
now.
Missed that one. But all the other would be what was discussed prior to putting in the operations grant. And if you recall, Mayor and I met with Carl, and we discussed these fares increases, and I think you were aware of them last time we met, that we would be coming forward.
Question?
Yeah, go ahead.
In that cover letter or during the hearing, it always mentioned 25-cent raise. And I don't see one that's 25 cents, or
Right.
they're all 50 cents, or
Yeah,
what?
that was an error in the public hearing notice. And I
So
wasn't.
which one's right? The one on the?
It's 50.
the
The one
50
that's on the
raise.
published fares is the correct one, Dave.
Okay, any other comments, questions?
On the wait time, is that 25 cents per minute, still 25 cents per minute?
Yes.
Okay, anybody else? All right, again, I think Henry touched on this by saying this to you, that what was happening is the budget that was presented to us by Brown Cab was actually a negative budget, and so we had to find ways to get that to a break-even budget, and the revenues that we were getting from the federal and state were not going to be enough to cover that, so the other place that we could do that is by increasing the fares. And so although we don't like to increase fares, I think it's a minimal amount, and we're still well under what private business is charging for those amounts. So we'd be looking for a motion to approve this so that we could have this take effect on January 14th.
Move to approve.
Motion by Keelan, second by Mail, that we approve of the rate increases for the taxi fare. Any discussion? Sandy will call the roll.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Scott Forchatsky,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
Chuck Whitman,
Aye.
Steve Hackett,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
and Eric Olson.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
Thank you, Henry. Next, we have Bike Wisconsin overnight camping. Andrew.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. This memo starts on page 70. There's 3 pages included here. This memo comes based on a conversation that I had with Mr. Rob Layton. He is the ride director for Bike Wisconsin. Bike Wisconsin is essentially some big bike tours that go to different areas in the state throughout the summer. There is one called Sagbra, I think. They just have weird names for all of them. They want to come through Waupaca next August, and they were looking for a good location to stay at. I met with Mr. Layton. We looked over the rec center as far as a good location, and he stated that it was a good location based on some of the needs. And you can see on the 3rd page of the memo there's a letter, and he kind of describes some of those needs as far as showers, location inside, outside, a place to have a continental breakfast in the morning. The good thing about this is they would be here for essentially 2 days before they left. They do some short daytime loops throughout the area, but the rest of the time they spend frequenting local businesses and local restaurants at night. So it's a good close proximity to downtown and some of the new breweries and places that are on the other side of town as well. Municipal code for our parks, including the rec center, is that they're open for use from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. This would fall outside of that code usage. And so because they want to have outside area, that would include setting up tents. If you look at the 2nd page, on page 71, you can see a map. We have what's called our lower flats, we call it, area that doesn't get used too much. And you can kind of see in that triangle there, that would be kind of the proposed area that they would be setting up tents. Now, not all of them stay in tents. Some may tent, some may choose to sleep inside in the exercise room, some may choose to stay at a local hotel. It's completely up to them. He said usually around 75 to 100 participants participate in these rides. And so that would be the proposed area. It does fall outside of you know, the normal usage of our parks. And because of that, I'm just asking for a recommendation that Common Council approves allowing Bike Wisconsin to set up tents in the lower parking lot area of our rec center on the nights of August 7th and August 8th, 2019, so that they can use our location as their main hub when they come through. Is there any questions?
I have one, Andrew.
Sure.
Will you be charging them a fee for the rental or use of the rec center?
It was discussed, but nothing was set. I wanted to make sure it got approved first, and then what we'll do is we'll take kind of a guideline of what they're actually using, and then try to come up with a small fee. But I want to make sure that this is acceptable first, and I think it's just a great thing for our community to have these people here, to be going to our restaurants, to be going to our businesses, and being in the area and just showcasing our area during that time. So I think that's a bigger importance than us making a ton of money off of them at this point.
It would be nice just to cover the expenses.
Yep. Yeah, it would cover, based on what they use, we'll come up with a memorandum of understanding between the two groups. But I wanted to see if it was going to get approved first, and then I'll reach out to Mr. Layton.
Is this a for-profit company?
It is not. It's a nonprofit organization. They're not, I don't know if they charge to actually get involved in the event. I don't know enough about the event, and it doesn't state in his letter, but I can check into that. I believe they're a nonprofit
It
organization.
just says he's the owner of it, which kind of made me wonder.
Sure.
Andrew, will you have to have staff on site for them over the evening or during the initial evening? You know?
He's kind of going to be the staff liaison. I don't plan on having staff there. In reference to them staying inside the building, it's the same thing we've done with WISCOR when they come and do work. They stay in that same area in the exercise room. They use it in the same manner. We have not had staff for them, and I didn't plan on having staff for extra staff hours or any to pay for any of that as well.
Thanks.
So, so then the building would be open and people would come and go?
The building will still be locked normally at night, so they'll need to know that once the building's locked, they won't be able to get in. The people that are in will be in. The people that will be out will be out. If they feel like they need a bathroom down there, they'll have to get a porta potty by themselves.
Okay.
Down in that location for the 2 nights. Or, you know, it just depends on how many people are outside or inside.
Right.
But the inside people will still, our doors are set to lock automatically, and we'll continue to do that.
Okay.
It's not going to be an open building for people to come and go throughout the night.
Okay.
They'll know that that we have a set time that it locks.
Okay, thank you.
If you look up Bike Wisconsin, I just have it here a little bit as well. There's really not a lot about how to even sign up, I guess. Click here for information.
Yeah, I'm looking.
Can I
at it.
interrupt for 1 second?
Sure.
This is Terry from the Chamber.
Thank you,
SACBRA
Terry.
has actually been through the area in the past, and they've worked with us. They've been out at the Waupaca High School and used their facility in the past. They do come through the area every 3, 4, 5 years. And from the school standpoint, I don't believe that they had any issues or problems with them. I think they rented the facilities from the high school. So it is a positive thing to have all of those people in our community, and I would really urge you to say yes.
I think they did request or talk to the school again, and as Terry stated, they didn't have any issues. I just know the policies at the school have changed as far as their rental fees and what they're renting and the space that they have, and I think that was just a deterrent so that Aaron probably asked Mr. Layton to reach out to me, knowing that we would have a place that would work for them as well. And we did meet, and he said it would be set up just perfectly for them. It's just a matter of allowing them to be outside overnight and inside as well.
I'd move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mayo, second by Fair, that we approve the allowing Bike Wisconsin to set up tents in the lower parking lot area of the Recreation Center on the nights of August 7th and 8th, 2019. But also we're talking about using the inside facilities for is that the weight room or
the exercise room? They'll be using the inside, which I don't know if you guys necessarily need to approve that. It's just a matter of going against our ordinance to be outside in those tents.
Okay.
But if you want to add the other part in, that would be fine as well.
Should we also have in this about you negotiating a fee for using everything? Especially so that we break even?
We can definitely add that in there if you guys feel like that is important.
I would think it's quite important.
Yeah.
We don't have the money to throw around.
Well, I don't know if that's Paul's
No, I know.
motion.
But I just said I
But,
think
yeah.
it should be in there.
Well, I think Andrew said that he was definitely going to talk to the person about helping cover our costs, and he's definitely aware of that. And I think
If you want to add it, we can. We're not essentially losing money by having them there. We're not saying other people can't be in there, or we're still running normally as we normally would during those days. By having them there, it's not necessarily that we're losing money. I don't want it to sound like we're going to lose money because we're there. But if they were renting the facilities, there would be a charge involved for a group to rent those facilities, if that makes sense. I don't want it to sound like we're losing money because we're there. We're not necessarily losing money. The facility will run exactly how it normally would. They're just going to be there, if that makes more sense.
Eric, go ahead.
I'm just wondering, what do we think is going to be the biggest cost? Electricity, or they all shower, or water and all that? I mean, what are we talking about for cost?
Those would be the things that would add a little bit to the cost. There's going to be more people showering. They may have some lights on later than normal. But as far as staffing and any of that, all that's going to stay the same. It's just a matter of them being in that space. So if for say someone wanted to rent it during that time and we said no, that would be where we would maybe lose some costs. But otherwise, we're not necessarily losing any money at that point.
I think the cost would be very minimal, and I'd be in favor of relying on Andrew just to work it out.
Now, is that exercise room, is that behind the stage? Is that what you're talking about?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so are there going to be classes canceled, or is that going to be people wanting to use that during the couple of days that they're there?
The one day we moved some classes, and I already worked that out with Sarah. We'll move the classes into the gym, but at this point we're not canceling anything. Okay. As we get closer, it may change a little bit. Her schedule changes some, but we're definitely already agreed with Sarah to work out how we would move those so that it could work. It would just be that one full day that they're there. The other days we will be fine in the exercise room.
Can you secure that area during the day so that no one futzes with their stuff?
Yes, we can lock that completely down.
Okay. Steve still had a question, and Paul, I didn't want to put you on the spot. Are you?
I'm fine with it, as long
Is
as
it
you
the way
say
they're doing it?
that
Okay.
Andrew will negotiate something.
All right. Any other discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.
All right, next we have wastewater treatment plant pay scale update for 2019. Justin.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm not sure if staff or council is aware that our wastewater treatment plant staff is based on, or their compensation is based on certification through the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources, where they need to follow through and get their operator certification. What the DNR has done in the past is had several levels with their certification. So there was a training and level 1, 2, 3, and 4. A couple years ago, they did away with this classification and basically updated, kind of made it a little bit more simplified, where now there is a training and then there's basic and advanced. So how it works out is basically levels 1 and 2 are now basic, 3 and 4 are advanced. And we're looking just to kind of mirror that because that's how our pay scale down there has always operated. Another little caveat of it is there's subclasses that the DNR recognizes at every treatment plant. There's 13 in total. Our treatment plant has 7. And part of our permit is that our lead operator has to maintain all 7 of those subclasses, which we have right now. So what we like to throw into the pay scale is basically recognizing completion of mastery of all 7 of those subclasses. So not only do we want all of our operators to become advanced, but we also want them to be proficient in all the subclasses that the DNR sees at our treatment plant as being warranted. So on page 75, I have a couple tables that I'm hoping have helped kind of clear this whole thing up. The top one compares our current scale versus what I'm proposing, which shows 2018 dollars, where it shows the team leader at the top, which is the supervisor, showed by each operator class, and then down all the way down to a lab tech. And then what we're proposing, mirroring that on the right side, is the superintendent again, advanced 2, advanced 1, basic 2, basic 1. OIT is operator in training, and then an uncertified. So down at the bottom is basically defining what's the difference between advanced 1 and advanced 2, basic 1 and basic 2. So basically it is, once the DNR recognizes that one of our operators has reached this certification of being basic, they would receive a wage of $23.21. If they were to qualify and obtain all the subclasses, then it would be a basic 2 and get a slight increase in their pay. Same thing with the advanced. Once the DNR recognizes they are an advanced operator, they're at advanced 1, but once they get all the subclasses, they're advanced 2. So with the DNR's definition, currently with it being updated, advanced operators need a minimum of 4 years of experience. So it kind of works in favor or similar to what we did to our pay scale at the Public Works staff, the street department, where they need to have at least so much experience in order to climb the scale. This is already built into the DNR certification program, so it's already there. So once they gain the knowledge, their credentials, the experience, then they just advance up. When the DNR recognizes that they've reached certain levels, we'll recognize it too in our pay scale. So really there's not much of a change from the old scale to new, except for just adding in this little caveat of, okay, we want you to ensure that you're meeting everything that the DNR wants, not just some of it. So there is no increases above the standard cost of living raise that the city has recognized each and every year. So that is the same. I do have 2019 rates on there, which are 2% higher than the 2018 rates, which was approved. So we're just looking to get this moved forward to kind of mirror what the DNR does. That's the way we've always done it, and we want to continue moving on in that direction. So I'll open it up to any discussion or questions.
Or motion.
Question. You got 2 categories there, maintenance man and laboratory technician. Are they being eliminated?
Yes, they are. We're getting rid of those 2. They were in the previous scale. We don't have those job descriptions anymore. Basically, our operators, they are the maintenance, they are the labs, the operators, they do everything. So we have 4 of them down there. They all share the duties. They do everything.
Okay.
Anybody else? Anybody like to make a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Keelan, second by Chestnut, that we approve of the wastewater treatment plant pay scale update for 2019. Discussion? Sandy, will call the roll.
Scott Perchatsky.
Aye.
Dave Peterson.
Aye.
Lori Chestnut.
Aye.
Mary Fair.
Aye.
Eric Olson.
Aye.
Steve Hackett.
Aye.
Alan Keeland.
Aye.
Paul Mayo.
Aye.
Paul Hagan.
Aye.
And Chuck Whitman.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
All right, staying with waste here, let's,
Different kind.
go ahead, Justin.
Page 76 of the memo on waste disposal or garbage pickup for the entire city. So Russ and myself put together a proposal as we need these services throughout the city, and we received 3 Gratian Advanced in Waste Management, the typical pickup experts in this area. You can see where the prices came in on the memo there on 76. Now, this would be a 3-year contract with no increases from year to year. The previous agreement was it was a little bit less, as you can see in the memo there of $9,500, and has increased about 3% each year if you did the math. So it's just kind of a standard. We think these numbers are good. So we did not budget for this. We did not plan for this in our budget for 2019. But this cost is spread out to about 9 different line items, everywhere from all the people here at this table, including airport and other places within the city. So we feel that the budget can easily just take on this a little bit of additional cost, but we will have to adjust our budgets moving forward, 2020 and 21. So with that, I'm looking to get approval for Gratian for 3 more years for an annual amount not to exceed $10,728.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Peterson, second by Hackett, that we approve of entering into a contract with Gratian Disposal of New London for waste disposal services for 3 years, 2019 through 2021, at an amount not to exceed $10,278. Discussion? Sandy will call the roll.
Lori Chestnut.
Aye.
Chuck Whitman.
Aye.
Mary Fair.
Aye.
Eric Olson.
Aye.
Steve Hackett.
Aye.
Paul Hagan.
Aye.
Paul Mayo.
Aye.
Alan Keeland.
Aye.
Dave Peterson.
Aye.
And Scott Perchatsky.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Justin. All right, next up, we have employee handbook stuff. Henry?
Sure, thanks, Mayor. I believe my memo is on page 78. During the budget discussions for 2019, we talked about a number of personnel-related items. Some of them are not reflected in this memo, but staff would like to come forward and recommend a few changes to the handbook in 3 areas. One is in accrued compensatory time. One is recognizing the time that permanent part-time employees work for the city before they get promoted to a full-time position, which they currently don't get any credit for those years of service. And then finally, just for administrative fees and to provide a small, I guess it would be an increase in benefits, would be increasing the city portion on employer-provided life insurance. So those are the 3 main categories. So the first one is compensatory time. I tried to give a real brief overview. At one time, before Act 10, our employees, full-time employees, could earn up to 60 hours of comp time. When we redid the handbook post-Act 10, a couple of you, I think, were on that committee, we came down to 44 to sort of mirror what was in the police contract, and one of the goals of that committee was consistency. Well, we're about 10 years post-Act 10. We've had a lot of turnover in our staff, so we've got a lot of younger staff, and they're not at a higher level of vacation earnings. So this was something that would be something that would be helpful to those employees, give them a little more flexibility. And in talking with Justin and Roger, I feel like it's a very manageable increase in time. It's sort of, you know, it's not all the way. I think they were seeking something more, but to try to balance their wishes to the ability to manage the overtime, it felt like a couple more hours a year accumulation was manageable. Chief, I'm sorry I didn't have a chance to speak to you. I hope that this increase would work for your department.
It would work for my supervisory staff, yeah, so I'd be for it.
Right, so I know you expressed some concern early on about those 60 hours was a concern for you. So that would be the one item, increasing from 44 hours to 48 hours. The second item is permanent part-time employees. There's no science to the proposal in front of you. It was just a way to try to make it simple to manage. And so basically, what's being suggested here is if a permanent part-time employee works 1 to 5 years for the city and they get promoted to a full-time position, we would recognize that service and give them 2 days of vacation. Excuse me, we're going to say vacation, or we could call personal days. But anyways, 2 paid days for those 5 years of service, up to 5 years. And then you can see the schedule, 4 days for 6 to 10, 6 days, 11 to 15, 8 days, 16 to 20, and then 21 plus, they would get 10 days. There is one thing they do get currently, is if they do move to permanent status, they do get the 2 floating personal days right of way. And then they have to work that full year before they would qualify to get any benefits currently for vacation. So this is a way to kind of say thank you for their years of service and to give them a little bit of a benefit. And then finally, the city provided life insurance. Right now, the city provides 1.5 units life insurance. A unit is the annual salary. To parse that half a unit out gets a little problematic, and so it's suggested that we just go to 2 units. And the cost is not significant to do that. The other change, and we had not been aware of this, Kathy, I think raised it when we talked about it, is that life insurance is available to our full-time employees for their spouse and dependents. And it would, you know, the WRS offers it. It would be on the employee's dime, but we don't currently allow them to do that. So that would be part of the change, is to allow the employees to purchase additional life insurance for their family if they want, and it would be on their dime. Right now, again, we don't currently allow it. So those are the 3 areas. If you have any questions on them?
Well, I would just have one question about the 1.5 units, and I'm all for giving people more benefits, so don't get me wrong, but why is it cumbersome to do a unit and a half? It's just divide it in half, and it seems pretty simple.
Well, in speaking with Tina, who administers it, she had requested that it takes a little extra effort to do it, and it's just, it just gets confusing, I think, for her a little bit, but.
No, that's incorrect. The state won't let us purchase a half a unit. If an employee decides not to take the life insurance, I cannot give him 1.5 units. He only gets 1 unit. So in essence, we're in violation of our employee handbook.
Okay, that makes sense.
All right, well, thank you, Kathy.
Henry, how much extra will it cost to go from essentially 1 to 2?
$240 a month.
Total?
$240 a month more per employee?
No, total.
Oh, okay. How much are we currently paying?
We currently pay about $599 a month for all of our employees. So there'd be another additional $240.
Oh, gotcha. That's for all employees?
Yes, that currently take out life insurance. Because I'm only buying a half. I'm I'm only buying a half.
We're already at 1.5.
We're all at one
So
and
you're
a
really
half.
only going up a half.
So the 500 and whatever,
Is what we currently,
that's the premium per employee per year?
no, that's how much we pay total.
Huh? Okay,
We have very, very cheap life insurance through the state.
I get it, okay.
Okay.
So the cost of this benefit is minimal to bring it up.
Well, and it's spread to the enterprise funds too. So you're
There's a
talking
few of the
total.
enterprise funds that,
Yeah, so it's even less than that, really, but yeah. Scott?
Kathy, they, excuse me, they, because they're employees of the city, they automatically would get this unless they decline it?
yes, they have to actually.
Or do they have to come in and say,
They
I
have to
want
come
this?
in, they
Oh,
would want that.
Okay,
They don't, it's not automatic.
okay.
Well, we've actually had a couple of employees that have declined it.
Yes, we
so
do.
We're trying to convince them that it's in their best interest to have this,
Right.
so.
Okay.
And the fact that we do have a lot of younger employees, the fact that they could be able to buy the spouse independence, it's,
Well,
I
sure,
believe,
that makes sense, yeah.
20, it's very cheap
Yeah,
group insurance. There would be coverage for the spouse is 20,000 and each dependent, I believe, is 10,000. I mean, and the cost is probably about $10 a month.
It's not even, I have that on my paycheck at the state. I don't even notice it. I think it's $250 or something like that. Pay period, it's very, very minimal.
I'd move to approve.
Second?
I'm not sure. Henry, are you done?
Yeah.
what do we approve?
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Other than I hope Kathy can be a little more diplomatic when she tells me I'm wrong.
Well, Henry,
I'll have to have a sidebar with you.
You were going down and
I know.
explaining it
Well,
wrong.
that was the way it was explained to me, and I don't get all the details, and that was on me. I should have doubled back with you today. But, no, I don't have anything else. I recommended motion is on my memo there. The recommended action.
Okay, so we had a motion by Mayo, a second by Olson, was it? That we approve of these changes to the employee handbook. Any discussion?
I just had a question about the comp time. Is the 44 to 48 matching something, or is it just a general increase?
It's an addition.
It was a compromise, actually. They wanted 60, so.
And we were at 60 before Act 10.
So.
Our committee worked long and hard. Steve was on that. We had reasons for going back to this, so this is a minor adjustment, but I don't, hopefully I don't foresee every year coming back and, we did it for a reason, so. Sneaking it up for or something, not sneaking it, but asking for 4 and getting 4, and pretty quick we're back to 60. We did have a reason. We'd have to go back and, explain
Well, the
that
reason
again.
you did it is because the police union had 44. And you wanted continuity between everybody.
Now, are they
And
still?
they're still at 44 for now. Yeah.
That answers my question.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Any other? Sandy will call the roll.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Steve Hackett,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Chuck Whitman,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
Paul Mayo,
Aye.
and Mary Fair.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
All right, let's go on to the deer hunt. Henry, you're still up.
Okay.
Unless you're still burning.
What's that mean? My memo on this is on page 80. Last year, the city conducted its first ever managed bow hunt. We wanted to bring it back by popular demand. And the memo I put together sort of hits the highlights. I did double back with Roger today on this. And he said there was one item that I failed to include in here is the background checks on the hunters. Last year, we did the background checks on the hunters that were selected. And so that was, we charged them a fee to do the hunt, and that covered the cost of the background check. So those would be sort of the parameters. In terms of how we select the hunters, we had a lot of people submit their name last year, and a lot of them weren't even Waupaca County residents. So we thought it was appropriate to try to give city residents the first opportunity to do this. So that was a change from last year, but really everything else is unchanged. We do a safety meeting before the hunt. Roger, and I guess I agree that it was probably pretty optimistic to think we could roll it out January 15th. It might be January 22nd by the time we have the safety meeting and get all the hunters selected. But those were the changes he wanted me to make sure that you were aware of. And it is not a sewer lift station off of Washington Street. It's actually a well. So I got that made an error. So, but you know where that is. That's off of Washington Street. So that's the only changes. I don't know if you have any questions.
Just one clarification, the $10 boat discharge permit is actually good for 2 years. So if they had one last year that they took out, it'd be good for this year yet?
So let me ask you this. There is no longer a ad hoc committee that is,
No.
so it's you and Roger are the ones that are?
Right, and the
Okay.
committee developed a budget, and this is a really pared down program. There's no money in here to, some programs reimburse the hunters for their supplies. Some programs will pay the cost to process the meat and manage that. We're not trying to attempt to do that because I think that's just beyond our means to manage. So that's not really included in there. Now, if there's some administrative expense or something like that, I told Roger I could just handle that, out of my budget. But I don't think there's going to be a lot of expense. But yes, it'd be Roger and I.
Okay.
Henry, I just had one small concern, and that's the cemetery part. The second bullet there says where they can hunt, and one was the cemetery, and I'm thinking, there's a lot of people go up in the cemetery on some given days.
Well, we have that back portion of the cemetery that's not even developed yet. I mean, it's not, we bought it and kind of platted it out, but there's nothing back in there. And it's a Bud's, our recycling center. So it's a nice space. And, Roger, being a sportsman, he knows how to space the hunters out and all that kind of stuff. So he really does have a really good working knowledge of how to do this.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Keelan, second by Perchatsky, that we enter into a managed bull hunt in the city from January 15th, 2019 through March 31st, 2019. And Roger Hanson from our street department will be in charge of that. Any discussion?
Henry, when you said that based on the status of these tags, additional tags will be acquired, what are you thinking that a total number would be? Or what status?
Yeah, that's a good question. Last year, we ordered 20, requested 20, and we used 8. So, and our hunt then was just, I don't know, 6 weeks maybe?
Not even that, I think it's 5 weeks.
So I think we'll use every bit of those 20 tags is my best guess.
Okay.
But I don't know that it'll be much more than that. But, if the hunt's a success, and I can report, if you'd like, in my monthly report, I'll let you know kind of where we stand with it.
As I recall, the DNR could have issued up to 60 of them for us, so there's plenty of latitude yet.
Well, there are a ton of deer in the city, probably.
Right.
Over 400 within the city limits.
Really?
They're all in my backyard.
Right, thank you.
Anything else? Sandy will call the roll.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Mary Fair,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Chuck Whitman,
Aye.
Lori Chestnut,
Aye.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Alan Keeland,
Aye.
Steve Hackett,
Aye.
and Paul Mayo.
Aye.
10 ayes, motion carried.
All right, thanks, Henry. Next up, license report 1430. This is the bartender's license. There are 4 new ones on there. We need a motion to approve those.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Hackett, second by Chestnut, that we approve license report 1430. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. License report 1431. This has to do with dancing. We need approval of these 3 applicants.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Hagan, second by Hackett, that we approve of license report 1431. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. License report 1432. These are our taxi cab drivers. You have quite a list here. Again, this is an annual renewal, January 1st of 19 through December 31st of 2019. Be looking for a motion to approve these also.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Keelan, second by Chestnut, that we approve license report 1432. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. All right, I think that's it. I have nothing extra to add to tonight, so we need a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Hagan, second by Peterson, that we adjourn till our next regular scheduled meeting, which is Tuesday, January 15th, 2019, subject to call. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. We are adjourned at 7:11 PM.